This is Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.
I shudder thinking how the world can be so cruel. Lend my voice to those who can't. It's time we try, it's time we care, it's time we stand. It starts with a voice.
Welcome back to the Special Chronicles podcast, unified at work series, presented by United Airlines Bridge Business Resource Group. I'm your host, Daniel Smrokowski. In season 6, part 9, I'm joined by Emmy Award-winning journalist, communications consultant, podcaster, and Special Olympics Illinois board member, Rob Johnson, who's returning on this podcast. Rob shares insights from his brand new book, Overcommunicate, a guide for business executives and aspiring leaders. We'll talk about why clarity is the most powerful leadership tool, how to avoid communication mistakes, and why over-communicating matters for inclusive leadership. Stay tuned. This conversation is packed with wisdom and practical takeaways. Please put your virtual hands together as we welcome Rob back on the Special Chronicles podcast. Welcome back.
Oh, listen to the crowd. The crowd is going wild. Hey, it's great to be back with you. So I'm a second-time guest.
Yes, second time. I think
Can we tell everybody how we get to know each other? Because you are the OG of podcasting. Like you're one of the godfathers of podcasting. Dan Smrokowski, you're it. You want to tell everybody how we met each other?
We met. I was quite a few years ago. It was, I believe, when I was graduating college.
You were at Roosevelt.
At Roosevelt University in Chicago, and you came. I had a radio program on our college radio station, and you came on. It was my last class in college, and you came to do a story on CBS 2.
Yeah, I came and did a story on you. I was so impressed. As everyone knows, I've been a disability awareness advocate for my entire life because my brother Edward, he is now 50. He's gonna be 54 in December, 53-ish, and that's the journey my family's been on. So I think everybody knows that. And so I was like, I heard about, hey, this guy has a radio show at Roosevelt. He's getting ready to leave. You better get him quick. And so that's how we got to meet. I bet that was that 2010 or 2012? I mean, it's been over a dozen years. I know that.
2012, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2012,
It's been a long time. So that's how we get to know each other. And then we got to know each other because you were involved in Special Olympics. And I've been on the board for 10 years. Been on exec committee now, chairman of marketing and communications. So very involved. And then you were in Special Olympics, and then you became one of our great ambassadors for Special Olympics Illinois and for the whole entire movement, not just here in Illinois, but dude, you go all over the world.
No, that was and that was a 5-year term as a Southern Tribal Global Messenger, one of 10 athletes across the globe. And you were there when the staff surprised me with that announcement.
You got to tell that. Can we tell that story too? Because it was really pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I want to hear your story, and then I'll tell you how I recall it. You start first.
Okay. All right. So that I was told from one of the marketing staff to come in to do to record a podcast, and so I went in, and then they said that they had a video that was like hot off the press to show me, and then they started playing a video from our chairman Tim Shriver. And then like Rob and everybody just started walking in, and I had no idea like what that I was, because it's an application, and there's hundreds of athletes across the globe, only usually 2 or 3 in North America that they select for this.
It's a huge honor. I forgot. was I supposedly doing a podcast with you that day? I mean, how did we get, and like, why was I there? I can't remember if it was a board meeting or we were doing a podcast together. And so there was a reason for me to be there. And then we surprised you with the thing.
I think the staff had just asked like some board members and friends and family, my parents were there. And it was amazing. And
man, I got to tell you that first of all, we've known each other for years. I am so proud of not only what you're doing here with the Special Chronicles, podcast, because you are way ahead of the curve. My podcast, Can You Hear Me? We just celebrated our 100th episode. 5 years, 100 episodes. That's huge. Yes. The crowd's going wild again. But I'm looking at what you do, and this is streaming live.
Yeah.
And you were saying before we jumped on here that September you were doing stuff almost every day. You try to do one a week. I mean, I'm just, my hat's off to you, because we get one done every 2 weeks, and we're a few weeks ahead. Like 6 weeks ahead from the time we tape to the time that we release it. But man, for this kind of commitment, but what you've done, the light that you've shined on the Special Olympics movement and disability awareness is immeasurable. And I just love it that you're so determined and you're so consistent. Consistency is so important when it comes to this stuff. And I have clients all the time now that they want me to help them do brand building. And it starts with part of it's podcasting. They're like, we want to have subject matter expertise. So I'm helping them produce podcasts. But I think about how you started this way before anybody else, and here you are, and the whole world's doing it now, and you're crushing it. So I'm super proud of you on many fronts.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing. I never would have imagined to continue to be making an impact. That it started with my story, and then other Special Olympics athletes and others with disabilities, and I never imagined that like that, because like those, as you know now, 17 years later, there's many podcasts out there and many voices and many stories being shared. But for those of us with intellectual disabilities, like that, people actually want to listen to us. People actually trust us. I have coworkers at my other job at United Airlines who always come up to me and say that they're listening. So you are, as you said, you were on this podcast a few hundred episodes ago, because this is episode
right.
This is episode 804.
Wow!
800.
I thought 100 was a huge accomplishment, and then you're 800 and something. I'm like, well, there you go. But you've been doing it consistently for years.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome.
It's amazing. So jumping now into quite a long intro there, 8 minutes, but
sorry.
No.
Because I do these two, I just made you tell stories. I was like, tell that story about the time. Tell that story about the time.
And that's when like I had there's another Special Olympics athlete who's now a Southern Shriver Global Messenger that has a couple of his own podcasts, and I had him on beginning of last year, and then after we were at the White House last December, we recorded one. And it's the same thing. Like when you have somebody on that's also a podcaster, that sharing these stories back and forth is, I think, makes for good content for people.
That's the thing about it, though, too. It's like you don't know where this is going. That's the thing I love about the podcast. Like you can have it structured, and you know what questions you want to ask and where you want to head. But as you get there, that journey is kind of fun, because you go off on these little side tangents like we're going on here. But I just wanted people to hear it, because I mean, you started this so long ago, and you're still doing it, and you're still going strong, and you've been such a terrific ambassador and leader for Special Olympics Illinois, for Special Olympics in the U.S. and internationally. And the thing about it is, as a longtime board member, we can be well intentioned. We can come up with great programs and ideas and marketing and things of that nature, but it's all about you, the athletes. It's about you guys. It's not about us. It's not about somebody's phony baloney, I'm real important because I'm on a board or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you all. And the better we serve you all, and the better we put the athletes in a position to succeed, the better off we're all going to be. And so to see you, to see Z's and Ira, I mean, to see a few other people that I think of that have really stepped up in a real significant way, I'm really proud of. So sorry that took 10 minutes.
No.
I'll turn it back over to you, Dan.
Yeah, it's amazing. So bringing it back now to the reason why, because the last time that you were on the program, and it's amazing, like when it comes to whether it's radio or TV, you've got these time constraints, and then but with the podcast, like it's just one last thing that I'll say about it is what's so powerful, I think, is these long form conversations. Like I've got an hour and a half to 2 hour commute into work, and so I'll put my headphones on, and these long form conversations, I think, is what people are so gravitating towards. Why?
Oh, for sure.
Are so popular.
No question. I mean, and for somebody like you that has that commute, and a lot of people do, and a lot of people sit in the car, or they're on the train or whatever. And that's where I can listen to other people's podcasts and do that sort of thing. So I think it's become a thing for everybody. And I think that everybody understands that it's a powerful way to be able to share your unfiltered message, the message you want to get out. You can share it with people. And that's what we're all doing.
Yeah, and it's even a motivation for me to get out to walk. My girlfriend Georgia, who's also an athlete, we co-host the Georgia and Daniel podcast, and which is another show, and that one we just recorded 100 episodes of that one. So between 800 of this and 100 of that, which is it's two different programs, but
So my little 100 episodes of the Can You Hear Me podcast seems like nothing. I'm like, we just did 100 episodes, and I'm like, but Dan's done like 900 episodes, so that's cool. But in all honesty, it's so important to have the athletes be front and center, to be out there sharing their message, their authentic message that is going to resonate with people, because I tell people why I do it. But if you tell people why it's important, I'm not going to say it probably has greater impact. I think I have impact with people because they'll listen to me talk about this stuff, but people are going to listen to you and hear about that journey. And so when I see other people with intellectual disabilities who will come and be like, hey, give me advice on podcasts, and I will, and they may ask, and I think you know who I'm talking about, but like, I'll be like, talk to Dan. Like, well, what else should I do? Talk to Dan.
Yeah.
This guy's done. I didn't know he'd done 900, but this guy's done a bunch of episodes, and you're in the same space.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people.
Yeah,
I'm
awesome.
like, just talk to Dan. I can give you some good advice to kind of get you rolling, from a production standpoint, but you're going to have to do it yourself.
Well, awesome. Yeah. And on International Podcast Day, I had gave a very short 2 to 3 minute speech to the marketing staff for all the Special Olympics regions across the globe, giving some of that tips, giving tips that they could bring back to their athletes. So, so if a listeners go to the 800th episode of this podcast, I think I titled it "Lessons from a Podcasting Legend." I didn't give myself that title.
You're not self-described. Okay, Dan.
No.
If that's the truth, I mean, no, I'm kidding.
No, No. I didn't give myself that title.
I am a podcast legend. Actually, you are though, and for certain people that care about this movement, you are. So, so I know we're joking around about it, and we'll continue to, and I'll probably give you grief the next time I see you about it. But truthfully, it's awesome. So
awesome. Well, now that we're 14, 15 minutes in, and this opening something was supposed to be only 3 minutes, but
sorry, that's on me, man. That's on me. Sorry.
And if our listeners want to go back and listen to your story with your brother Edward, and I forgot all other parts of your story that we talked about, but I think it was episode 98, 9.
You know what, man? That's good research there, man. Your research department is crushing it.
Yes, I know. Something like that. I don't.
But honestly, though, Edward is the reason that I do all of this, and the reason my family does all of this, and the reason we're so passionate about it. And it's important work, and it's never been more important when people want to talk about inclusion and allowing everybody to have opportunities right now. And sometimes in some circles, that's not always the coolest thing to say, or people might be like, well, no, not everybody deserves opportunity. And it's like, people deserve opportunity. People deserve to be included. That's the backbone of Special Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why I'm glad that we're having you on this podcast, and this particular episode is part of our Unified at Work series that talks about inclusive employment. Yeah. And so I feel like for other Special Olympics athletes and others in our disability community, they can still learn from this conversation from your book, that I'm sure it will benefit not only leaders from companies, but also Special Olympics athletes.
Oh no, I think it will. And it starts Overcommunicate. It's a guide for business executives and aspiring leaders. So I took good communication techniques that I saw from people that were on my podcast, clients that I worked with, people that I come across, and I built chapters around them. So one chapter might be on being nice versus being kind. One might be communicating in a remote working environment. The way I define Overcommunicate is, if you think that you've communicated your message to your team, to your colleagues, and you're like, did I do enough? The answer is probably no. It's really taking that extra step to make sure that everybody's aligned, everybody's on the same page, everybody understands what the objectives are. This book is not about micromanaging. It is not about, I should send 75 emails to people they're not going to read. That's not my definition of Overcommunicate. Overcommunicate is just make sure you are communicating enough, and you're communicating important messages that will resonate with people. And so by taking different chapters and building them around various people whose communication techniques I admired, then adding some of my personal anecdotes to that issue, because through my work at Rob Johnson Communications with clients and various other people, I would see this regularly. And then I would do research to back up what I was talking about. So I would go get sourcing from a book, from magazine articles, whatever, that sort of backed up that idea. One chapter was about communicating amongst generations. And my brother-in-law, Ryan Smith, who is a digital marketing whiz, he actually helped create Peacock several years back. Unbelievable. So he's a millennial. And then we're talking about, well, how do millennials talk to Gen Zers, and how do Gen Xers talk to millennials? And so that's a chapter. I'm not going to go through all the chapters, but to overcommunicate, you must first listen. If you're going to be a good leader, a lot of leaders want to just, here's what you need to do, everybody, let's go. The really good leaders listen, and they get feedback from the people that are on their teams. And that helps them make decisions, whether they do what you want them to or not. So I really just wanted people to think about going the extra mile to be better communicators, because if you don't communicate properly, there's going to be a breakdown in the system. You're not going to get as much done. You're not going to develop trust. It manifests itself in so many different ways. And the teams that I see that do communicate well thrive. They trust each other. They know it's a safe space. They know their opinion is valued, even if it's not acted on every time. And that is so important. And it's so important when we think about it in the prism of communicating to the masses about disability awareness. We need to make sure that people understand why it's so important. And since October is Disability Employment Awareness Month, and I'm actually working with another not-for-profit on, they're trying to get their employment center, they're trying Gateway to Learning, they're trying to get their participants working much like you work at United. And I've told them, I'm like, man, Special Olympics, I mean, pretty good template. We've got some wonderful partners. United, Hyatt come to mind. I mean, so so how do we communicate this message? And that's a project I'm working on right now with some folks, the Gateway to Learning folks, terrific. But, we all care about the same thing. And it's making sure that our athletes, people like you, their participants have opportunities to work. And we're trying to raise awareness with Alex Picios, who used to run Cinescape. He sold it, and now he's doing amazing, lots of benevolent work, trying to help different groups, including Gateway, get the word out. And so he's challenging his business people. Hey, I know that you're a CEO, you're a CEO, you're a CEO. You need to hire these participants. And I think that you're living this life. So I don't think that you're going to be like, well, that's a great idea, Rob. Of course it is, because this is what you're able to do, and you have a wonderful job.
Awesome. So what inspired you to write Overcommunicate now instead of because like before you're doing this communication work now, you used to work in TV and other. So like instead of writing this episode, this episode, not episode, book. Instead of writing this,
it starts with an episode and then it's a book. Yeah, it's an episode. It's a blog.
Yeah. So instead of writing this book, Overcommunicate, 10, 15 years ago, what inspired you to write this Overcommunicate book now?
Well, I think, first of all, when I did TV, it's a very inflexible job. It was a wonderful job while it lasted. But I could not go on a book tour. I could not really devote the proper time to it because the job was so demanding. And it's not that my Rob Johnson Communications work isn't. It's just way more flexible. So I set my own schedule. I run my company. I work with my teams on various projects for clients. It's very busy. It's busier certainly than my other job, but it's also more flexible. And so I have flexibility. That's why I'm able to spend more time, more meaningful time doing terrific work with Special Olympics Illinois. But it also was inspiration. It was, I do these thoughts of the day, and I put them out once a week on socials and that sort of thing. And a lot of it is sort of professional. There's no call to action. It's just like, hey, here's an idea. I want to share it with you. Most of the time it deals with, professional things. Sometimes it might deal with just interpersonal communication in general. And so I was at a lunch with Nellie Vasquez Rowland, who used to run A Safe Haven here in Chicago, and she's retired now. And she's a dear friend. And we were sitting at lunch, and she's writing a book about her journey, because A Safe Haven is like one of the I think it's the largest homeless shelter in Chicago. And she and Brian, her husband, have done terrific work. So we were sitting there talking at lunch, and I had read her book and kind of gave her notes and that sort of thing. And she said, you should do a book on some of the thoughts of the day. And so I was like, wow, gosh, that's really good. So I started developing it. And then fortuitously, I met a publishing group, Manuscripts Press. Somebody else that I knew had worked with them, and I had a conversation, and I realized, they're going to be a good fit for me, because they're going to have experts all along the way. They're going to help me on this book journey. And what I don't know is what I don't know. That's what I think most authors would say. They're like, well, I've got notes and I haven't really done it. I put them away. I brought them back. I mean, this was, it was very intense, and I'll get to that in a second. But I met with the head of Manuscripts, Eric Kester, and he said, and he heard me. He's like, well, I don't know that the little 30 or 45-second thoughts of the day are going to be enough for a book. And then we started talking about, what I had seen in my work about people communicating. And I go, people really need to over communicate. And he's like, whoa, wait a minute. And I could hear him like clicking on his, his computer. He goes, there's really nobody in this space over communicate. And immediately I saw that was going to be a challenge though too. I was like, oh, great. There's not 10 authors writing about this right now. But the other challenge was a marketing challenge, which was a lot of people view over communicate negatively. So how am I going to do? So we had a very intentional conversation about, you have to define it in the intro. You have to define it throughout the book about how you define over communicate. It is a good thing. And it is something that people should embrace, the definition that I use. And so that's what got me on this journey. So it was awesome.
Awesome. Yeah. What you just said about how most people view overcommunicate as negative, that maybe kind of think back to those of us with intellectual disabilities.
Yeah.
Like a big part of why I don't like to use that label myself, is because a lot of people view disability as a negative. So like for example, what we're doing at Special Chronicles on this platform is toning that negative of disability into having all listeners view that as a positive. And so it seems like that same perspective is what you're doing with changing what you're doing with this book. So like it's kind of like a similar.
Yeah, you can equate over communicating to intentional communication, because that's what you're doing here. So you're trying to change the narrative about how people view others with disabilities. And you're making it a positive, not a negative. In doing so, you must over communicate and be very intentional about what you communicate, so everybody understands what the goals of the Special Chronicles podcast is. So we're really talking about the same thing. So I called over communicate. You might say it's very intentional communication. We're really talking about the same thing. And that's what I want when this book comes out in early 2026. I want the readers to get that it's really about intentional communication, but over communicate is a catchier title.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is. Yeah. I'm glad that you have that catchy title, and it's.
But it is intentional. It's intentional. It's exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Yeah, and people might see, 800, 900 up, like they might see hundreds and hundreds of episodes, but we're not just producing this content just to have so much communication of these podcasts and these stories out there, but it's that, like what you said, that like these each of these episodes, it's intentional to communicate each.
It is. And the other thing too is, and I had one of my clients recently who runs a big team for a mortgage company talk about, this is not a vanity play. This can't be a vanity play. Like, I got my own podcast. That's so cool. Oh, you look great, Dan. Way to go. You got 900 episodes, whatever. But it's what you do in those 900 episodes. It's what I've done in 100 episodes of Can You Hear Me, where I'm intentionally communicating messages that I want people to hear. And so it has to be more than just like, oh, don't I sound smart? Don't I look good? Like, that doesn't matter. The vanity part doesn't matter. The information that you're sharing with people matters. The way that you're over communicating or intentionally communicating the information, that is why you've done all these episodes. That's why you're still doing it all these episodes later.
Yeah, absolutely. You say that most leaders confuse saying something with being understood. Yeah. Can you unpack that for us?
Yeah. So a leader will say, chapter 4, the illusion we're communicating when we're not. But I told them that the problem is with communication, especially for some leaders who aren't good listeners, is they bark out orders, they send that information downhill, and they expect everybody to just act on it. And the thing is, it's possible that your team did not get the marching orders correctly. It's possible that you thought you were communicating, but you weren't. And I will say that all leaders that seem to have a hard time breaking through, or let me rephrase that, all the leaders that are successful all have self-awareness. They're all aware of what they're doing and how they're doing it. The leaders that don't have success lack self-awareness. That means, but I told them 20 times. I sent them 40 emails. That's not good enough. And so that's why you need to really make sure, as you're sharing that message with somebody on a team, a colleague, whatever the case is, do you understand it? What are you getting back from them? Are they digesting the information the way you think that they need to? Are they digesting the information the way, more importantly, that they need to understand what you're expecting from them? So that is where that comes into, but I communicated the message, but I said it 10 times. You said it, but how was it received? And if you're not asking that question about yourself, you lack self-awareness, and your team is probably going to be a little disorganized.
Absolutely. And you grew up in a newsroom family where clarity, and as you know, I also got a degree in journalism, and so I use a lot of those same skills with this podcast, and
very transferable.
Yeah, you grew, and even there was a guy. He used to be a senior vice president at Best Buddies International, and he also has a degree in journalism, and he used a lot of his same skills working for Best Buddies. So you grew up in a newsroom family where clarity mattered more than information. How did that shape your leadership philosophy?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was main anchor for a long time, so I had a leadership role, but you know, you try to make sure that whatever the important stories of the day are, that you're all on the same page and that you're all reporting it in a fair way and in a clear way. So getting the information right is always going to be the most important thing. Being fair to people, that's also very important. Clarity is also important, because if you're not clear with people, if you are a communicator and you're not clear, you're going to lose people. You're going to say something, they're not going to get it. And so everything you say after that, they may or may not get it. And so that's why it's important to have that clarity. That's why it's important to ask good questions. I think about all the things I learned as a, young reporter and anchor, years ago. And those things still matter. Even though the business has changed, even though the way we communicate seemingly has changed, it's never been more important to be clear and to make sure that everybody understands exactly what you're trying to communicate and what your expectations are as well.
Awesome. And why is communication clarity so urgent today with employee burnout, hybrid work, and trust crisis in leadership? My sister, who she's getting married this Saturday, the 25th.
Oh, cool.
Which I can't be at the Special Olympics Champions Ball because
you're bagging us for the Champions Ball for a wedding of your sister. Yeah, that's a pretty good excuse. That's a pretty good.
Yes, I know. A bunch of people were asking about what's going on. So she was an architect, and I'm not going to just in case she may or may not listen to this, but so I won't share a lot. Just anyway, and this is live. So
have a wonderful wedding. Yes, we're not editing this because it's live.
It's live, yeah. But like she was an architect and she worked at one job and now she's at another job. So kind of with that in mind, why is communication clarity so urgent today with employee burnout, hybrid work, and trust crisis in leadership?
Okay, let's start with trust crisis. People don't trust what they're hearing. There's a lot of fake news out there, right? Mm-hmm. And so you need to be clear and concise, and you need to make sure everybody understands what you're saying in the simplest way. You think about employee burnout, and that is employees that don't feel like they're being heard. It's employees that don't feel like they understand what the purpose of their role is. And that's why making sure that the clarity is there for them to feel like they're a part of the team, to feel like they have a say in the matter, is so important for everybody. And what was the last one? It was trust crisis, employee burnout,
and hybrid work.
Oh yeah, hybrid work. Well, hybrid work. That's chapter 8, by the way. I did Eileen Rochford, my podcast co-host, runs the Harbinger Group. It is all remote agency, and she's been doing it 20 years. And so when COVID hit, everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're working remotely. What do we do? And she's like, I know what we're doing because we've been doing it for years. Yeah. The reason it's so important in a remote working environment is because here we are. I mean, like here we are on the podcast and we can see each other from like the chest up, right? Yes. So you're missing some body language. You're missing that connection that you have in person. And so anything you can do to be clear, to be concise, and to really break through this camera that we're sitting in front of is very important. So when you work remotely, I feel like you have to take extra steps to make sure that not only you're communicating your message, but also the people that are being communicated to, the people that work for you, understand what's going on. And I mean, we're not going to have an extra 30 meetings. Maybe we take an extra time just to see how people are, check in on their well-being and things of that nature. That would probably be important anyway. It's probably more so if you're working in a remote working environment.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, like I'm on athlete leadership team. We're changing the names. Athlete advisory team, and we usually like the first 5 minutes. We usually try to check in on each other. So same
smart.
and the same thing. Like I'm on. Like I don't know if our viewers can see. I'm wearing this bridge.
I see the bridge connecting people of all. Oh, I like that. That's all.
Yeah. It's one of the business resource groups at United, and usually like the first few minutes, the same thing. We usually check in on each other. So there's a lot of leadership books or communication books. As we move into what makes this book different, a lot of leadership books give tips, but you emphasize tools. And that's even something like for myself, like in a lot of the special ed classes that I was in, I used to say like this, I would have this toolbox of tools that a lot of my special education teachers would give us. So what tools will readers actually walk away with?
Well, I love your analogy of the toolbox, because I tell that people all the time, like, you have a tool in your toolbox, use it. And so if I give you advice on, being nice versus being kind, I referenced that before. Being nice is, hey, Dan, you're doing a great job and you're the best, and you might be screwing up, but I'm just going to be nice to you. I'm conflict averse, whatever the case is. Being kind is, I've already developed a relationship with you and you may be falling short in some area, and I have the personal currency to be able to say, Dan, you're really not doing the job. And I'm bringing this up because 900 episodes. No, I'm kidding. You're doing the job great, but no. but from an example standpoint, that's being kind, is having built the relationship and being able to be honest with somebody, even though it may be uncomfortable. So that's a tool in your toolbox, being kind to somebody, because I contend being kind to somebody is way more important than being nice to them and letting them hear what they want to hear. So that's one example. I referenced the thing earlier too about being a good listener. To over-communicate, you must first listen. You have to be a good listener. That is so important, because you can't just bark out orders. You can't just do this, do this, do this. You have to be taking in information from people. And frankly, if you're a leader in any stretch or in any organization, you can't possibly know everything. If you're the leader, you have to rely on the people around you that are touching the community, that are touching customers, that are touching the public. They're going to be able to give you some great insight, but you're only going to get that insight if you listen. But if you're too busy talking, you're going to miss it. So those are just two examples of tools that I think I'm going to provide people, and I want them. And I've already done this. So obviously I want to be a best-selling author, right? But I also want this to drive workshop and keynote speaking business for me, because that's, what I do. And I've already delivered the Overcommunicate workshop to 2 or 3 different leadership teams, like 7 to 10 people. And I've been really encouraged by the fact that they're like, oh, I hadn't thought of this. I mean, really smart people, the top of the company. And I'm like, do you do this? Do you take this step? And they're like, we don't take that step. Yeah. Or what are better ways to communicate? What are better communication channels now? Again, the illusion we're communicating when we're not. Sincerity, delivering tough news. These are all components in the book. These are all stories that I can share with people, and these are all nuggets of wisdom that my subjects of each chapter can provide as well, that really give great insight to it. So what I'm trying to give people is, tips. Yeah, you might call them tips, but I would call them tools. I would say whenever you read a chapter in this book, you're going to be better equipped to be more successful as a leader, no matter what your organization, no matter who you're working with, no matter who you're working for.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And we'll have to talk off air about maybe with our athlete leadership program, because we've had some staff changes, as we're having this new kind of athlete leadership university with these new training workshops, and so we'll have to maybe see if we can talk to you about doing something for our athlete leadership program.
Well, I mean, you know where to find me. I'm here to help, man. I mean, these are my people. You guys are awesome. And so whatever you need, let me know.
Yeah, awesome. And so so if Michelle and Emily from the Special Olympics Illinois staff was listening, you know how to get in touch with.
Hello. Yes, Michelle definitely knows how to get a hold of me because we talk all the time.
Yes. So many here over communicate and like what you just talked about earlier, assume more emails, more meetings, and more noise. What do you say to those Scott Dibbs who those people who go against this over communicate message?
I would say the sheer volume of what you say is not what's important. The impact of what you say is important. So when I say over communicate, you're thinking, oh, somebody might say, oh God, that's a lot more words. Oh gosh, I don't want to have more meetings. I don't want to have more emails. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about have impact when you are communicating. Have a clear message to send to whomever you're working with and make sure that it is understood. Invite feedback to make sure that people are on board with it and they do understand the way that you intended to say it. And that's when you're going to have the most success, is when you're doing that. So I just think it's not about quantity. It's about the quality of the communication. It's giving them the information they need to be successful, not I sent them 100 emails and nobody's responding. And the click rates on those emails are like, 3% or something. So nobody's reading them anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Can you, I definitely know that there's probably some people that could benefit from this message. Can you mentioned and just our listeners know I have not pre-read the book yet, so I'm just going off some other notes.
Yeah, that was from the pre-sale, right? That was my author page. You're just reading off my author page, which is like sort of giving you the basic information. So you're spot on. The author page helped you ask some really good questions.
Yes. Well, I also have ChatGPT. I'll also help a little bit.
Everybody does. You're not alone. Apparently, it's a movement.
Yeah. You've got the Special Olympics inclusion movement, and then
Jan's using AI. Stop this recording now. No, we're live. We can't.
We can't. Yeah. So even I didn't think that, but I've got a volunteer content producer who is in Maryland and DC. Mm-hmm. She's the one that actually introduced me to using AI. So even my own producer is helping
anything you can do. Yeah. People, I know. Listen, it's pretty scary out there. There's a lot of jobs. People are like, "Oh my gosh, what's it going to do to my job?" That's one way of looking at it, and people that feel that way are justified in feeling that way. There's another way of looking at this, which is what can AI do? What can ChatGPT do to help me be more efficient in my job? I'll give you one example about the book. The book editors and consultants are like, you can't use AI to write the book. I'm like, I'm not going to use AI to write the book. Yeah. I love writing. I mean, this is all my stuff. But I did use AI to do research because I don't have time to comb hundreds of thousands of sources and find the right ones. And so it helped pare down when I was looking for something about being a better listener. It helped me find those sources. But then when I found the sources, it wasn't some phony summary that you get sometimes. It was like I sourced things that were real articles. There were books, quotes from book. And so I was able to do that. But I had AI help me do some of this research because I'm not going to go to the library and look through 1,000 books. I'm not going to I don't have time to go to a database and search, 200,000 different things. That's just not possible. So the thing is, did AI help me write the book? No. Pete says he uses Copilot. Yes. Bravo. Yes. but it helped me tons with research. And so that helped make me more efficient. That helped me be able to do this project and not really overwhelm myself.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the communication flywheel. Can you explain your idea of a communication flywheel and how leaders can build momentum through repetition and clarity?
So look at the flywheel like as a wheel. Look at it like turning. It's a spoke, and there's a bunch of spokes around the wheel, but it's moving. And the only way it moves is if things are working in harmony with each other. So I look at it as a communications flywheel because there are concepts that I have introduced each time, and I've mentioned many of them here. I won't go back through them, different ones, and each one of them help that flywheel. Each one of them help distill it, and that's what gets the wheel moving. All those different concepts that I'm introducing. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, but you add them all up, and it's the entire flywheel, and that is what helps communication work. So it's a little bit of an analogy, if you will, but I've taken concepts, I've built them in, and they're all the spokes of the wheel.
Awesome.
And the wheel goes around when all of them are in harmony.
Awesome. I love that, and it made me think of the back end of. I've got a website team that helps out behind the scenes because I can't do content
because you're an important guy.
Yeah. And so there's something like they kind of also use that same type of flywheel tone behind the scenes. What's moving on as we wrap up this section before a few closing segments here. What's a practical and for those listening, keep tuning in, because if you want to hear about the Special Olympics and inclusive employment connection, that's coming up at the end. But what's a practical example while over-communicating helped tone around confusion or crisis? Because I'm sure there's a lot of companies that their communication and there might be some confusing around the ways that they communicate.
Remember what I said earlier? Remember what I said earlier about did I communicate my message well enough to this group? I don't know. And if you have that moment in your head, the answer is no, you didn't. And if you didn't go the extra mile, that's what I'm really talking about with over-communicate, or as we were, reframing it as well, like intentional communication. If you're not doing that, if you're sitting there thinking, I'm not sure they got that message, they probably didn't. And if they didn't, all the initiatives that you're pushing forward are not going to be embraced the way that you want them to be. And so that would be why it's so important to have that extra step, because once everybody's aligned, once you're clear that everybody knows what their purpose is, they're going to be able to do a lot better job for you. They're going to do a lot better job for the team, and it's going to reflect on all of you. But it does start with you as a leader. And it's not, oh, so-and-so didn't do this, so-and-so didn't do that. It is a collaborative process. And you, as a leader, set the tone for what happens. And you have to be able to communicate that message, and you have to take that extra step. Again, it's not communicating unnecessary information or too much information. It's communicating important information that is going to help people succeed in business and in life.
Awesome. I love that. And as we move into leadership transformation, you describe shifting from checking a box to driving momentum. How can leaders make that mindset shift from, instead of just checking a box that, oh, they communicated this, or they hired this person with a disability, to driving momentum?
Well, I mean, I think, first of all, I'm a list maker, so I cross things off the list. When this is over today, I'm going to be like, oh, I did the podcast with Dan. It's okay to check a box, but you can't only check a box. You need to make sure that while you're checking that box, you're like, okay, I got this accomplished, that accomplished, this accomplished. Okay, I hired somebody with a disability, but then once I hired them, did I communicate what was expected of them? Did I communicate properly to make sure that they understood what I needed from them? That is the key component in what you're talking about, is making sure that, okay, checking the box is fine, but once I check it, or maybe I shouldn't check it till I understand that everybody's on the same page, the people that I hired understand what they're supposed to be doing, and that I'm setting them up for success. Because if I don't communicate what my expectations are, they're not going to guess it. They're not going to be set up for success either, and that's not fair to them.
Yeah, I love that, and I don't want to point out any of my employers, but there's,
please don't.
Yes, no. I know those people that do listen to this podcast. So, but I just want to say that I feel like even whether it's my employer or other companies could really benefit from hearing this message.
Oh, they could.
Yeah.
And anytime United wants me to come by and work with their leadership team, I'm available. I'm sure I can find time.
Yes. So if any, and I'm going to be down at the Global Headquarters tomorrow.
By the way, Dan's going to be down there spreading a positive message tomorrow, right?
Yeah. So if anyone's listening, this episode, just go back and listen to this.
Very subtle we are.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're not over communicating this message in a negative way.
No, it's all positive.
It's all positive.
All positive. Yep.
In Overcommunicate, you outline transformations for first-time executives, mid-level leaders, founders, and aspiring leaders. Can you share a story with us or insight for each of these groups, or maybe for the sake of time, maybe just a couple that
let me do it, because I do have to go in a couple of minutes, because I got another meeting coming up. But I would say that so many people get hired because of their subject matter expertise. They're what? Go do this. They're what? Here's what we need to do. Here's how. Here's what. Here's how. And sometimes they forget the why. And I always believe in, if you're going to get people on board, you have to give them examples of why it's important. That means being a good storyteller, telling a story that's going to resonate with them, telling a story that's going to make an emotional connection. So you can get all your what people, all the people get hired because of their what, they're going to be fine, but they're really going to ascend to the higher ranks of their company if they can also be the why people. Why I do this, why I'm passionate about this, why people should want to buy our product or use our service or whatever the case may be, or join our organization. We have to be able to make an emotional connection. That's what that means.
Awesome. And for the sake of time, because you have another meeting, I've got another meeting that I have to get to, so I'm gonna combine the last few sections here. What lessons from Overcommunicate can apply to special Olympics athletes, top advocates, and inclusive employment initiatives like this Unified at Work series that's on this podcast? But what lessons can
I think having proper leadership, and I'm part of the Special Olympics Illinois leadership that's trying to be better communicators and trying to tell better stories. These are things that are front and center all the time. So on that level, that can help us help you. From an athlete perspective, it would be the desire to make sure that I'm asking the right questions and that people are telling me what I need to be hearing. So we need you to go out there and be these great advocates for this terrific organization. But are you being communicated with enough to help you get to help you do what we need you all to do? The third piece of it is the employment piece. It's very important. I'll drive it home again. For business leaders out there that are hiring people, you should be hiring people with intellectual disabilities because they are hungry, they are dynamic, they are hard workers, they are loyal, and you should be hiring them. And so as I was talking about the project I was doing with the other disability group, these are the messages we're trying to send. We are trying to over-communicate how important it is to have people with intellectual disabilities be able to have a job that matters to them, where they're making real contributions.
Awesome. And as you mentioned something on the board of Special Olympics Illinois, how has that shaped your views on communication, inclusion, and leadership? And then for Special Olympics athletes stepping into leadership roles like I have done, how can they learn to over-communicate with clarity and confidence?
Well, I just think you have to do it. You have to take that extra step with everybody. If you think you haven't done it, you haven't done it. If you think you've done it, then you can be like, okay, I think everybody's on the same page. So whether it's somebody that's in a leadership role that's communicating, they need to make sure that everybody on their team is aligned, to make sure that everybody externally is aligned. And from you all as athletes, you need to make sure that we are doing our proper job to communicate with you, because you are the brand. You're it.
Yeah. Awesome. And just a few final closing thoughts here.
Yep.
what do you hope readers will take away from Overcommunicate? What's one small thing that they can do today to improve communication with their team? And then where can our listeners pre-order the book?
Well, the book can be pre-ordered in early 26. We already did the pre-sale campaign, so in early 26, I'm going to do a lot more marketing and let people know you're going to be able to get it in Amazon and everywhere you would order a book. So it's probably going to be coming out in February of 26. The other thing is, what was the question before that?
What's one small thing that they can do to improve communication with it?
I said it earlier. Be self-aware. Just understand yourself well enough to know that how people are receiving your communication, and do you need to do more of it? And the people that are self-aware, the people that take that extra step, that go the extra mile, that over communicate, are going to be the most successful folks. So
Awesome.
that's what I got. Hey, I do have to run, but I do want to say we're going to miss you Saturday. You have a wonderful excuse, but please say hello to your father, Adam, who is a lovely man. And every time I see you and your dad, it just makes me as happy as can be. And it's great being on this with you.
I will. Yeah. Thank you again. We'll let our listeners, I'll leave our listeners with one final question from Pete Piodevecchio, President and CEO of Special Olympics Illinois. Great conversation. I'm so mad at myself for missing the pre-sale Rob's book. Excellent questions, Daniel.
But I know where to find Pete. So when it's time to order a book, I know where to find Pete. I'll find him.
Yes. Yeah, Pete will find him. So, thank you again, Rob, for coming on, and looking forward to see you at the next event.
You bet. Hey, thanks for having me on, Dan. You're doing such an amazing job, and keep up the great work.
Thank you.
All right, man.
And that's it for this episode of the Special Chronicles podcast on the Unified at Work series, presented by United Airlines Bridge Business Resource Group. A big thank you to our guest, Rob Johnson, for joining us and sharing about his new book, Overcommunicate. Be sure to check out more stories from this series at specialchronicles.com/unified at work. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you listen, and share this episode with your friends and community. I'm your host, Daniel Smrokowski. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, choose to include, and we'll see you on the next episode of Special Chronicles. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Special Chronicles podcast. Our podcast was produced by Daniel Smrokowski on the Special Chronicles Network. Follow Special Chronicles on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Subscribe, rate, and review Special Chronicles on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Our website, specialchronicles.com, where you can stream our archives of over 500 episodes for free. Also, there's a list of our favorites, original series, award-winning columns, and blogs. And sign up for our newsletter to receive exclusive bonus content delivered to your inbox. Again, specialchronicles.com. Special Chronicles is hosted by Podbean Podcast Hosting. Our live streams are powered by StreamYard. Thanks, as always, to our business manager, Adam Smrokowski, who always encourages us to never give up. I'm Daniel Smrokowski, back next week with more stories.
Special Chronicles, giving respect and a voice to people with special needs.